Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles. I wish when I got married that there was some sort of manual to tell me when a marriage goes bad. My name is Chris, and I was always taught that when a man gets married, he is expected to do whatever it takes to provide for his family. I know nowadays that has changed somewhat as I see many more working couples or the woman as the main breadwinner. When Stacy and I got married, I was the one with a good job and a bright future at the company I work for. Now my job did require me to work some late nights, weekends, and even take a few business trips, but this was part of my job and Stacy did not seem to have any issues with it. She did work those first few years we were married, but when our son Jason was born, she became a stay-at-home mom. We have a nice house in a good neighborhood with good schools and some great neighbors. At that time, other than my work schedule, everything was perfect. I had a great wife, the growing family and a job that I enjoyed and that allowed me to support them. The trouble began when we had our second child. You see, we had some difficulty conceiving Jason and the doctor told me I had a low sperm count. We were told we could still have children, we just had to try a little harder. I had no problem with that as my wife and I had a very healthy and fun sex life. Well, within 3 years of Jason being born, Michelle came along. It was a bit of an unexpected surprise, but a welcomed one. After her birth, we decided not to have any more children as Stacy said taking care of them was a full-time job in and of itself. As time went on, we did have our problems and arguments like any couple, but we were always able to talk them out and come to some sort of resolution. Then there was a period of time when Stacy had some woman issues and went to see a specialist. As it turned out, it was nothing serious, as she put it, but we couldn't have sex for a while. As much as I had asked her, she never told me exactly what the problem was, but would only say I didn't need to worry about it. Now looking back, maybe I should have been suspicious then. I still worked long hours at my job, but it's starting to pay off as I've been getting a promotion almost every 3 to 4 years. At this rate, I'll be director of manufacturing for my company within a year or two, and I know my hours will decrease, so I'll be able to spend more time with my family. Jason has just turned 17 and is less than a year from graduating high school while Michelle is just about to start. Both of them are natural athletes. I like to think they get that from me. Jason is a star on his school's baseball team and Michelle loves soccer but also plays softball. They're good students and both are very popular. Each of them has many friends. Jason has had a few girlfriends. Michelle is just at the point to start dating. God help me. Stacy had been hinting that she would like to go back to work since Jason will be heading off to college soon and Michelle is old enough to be on her own. This didn't sound like a bad idea as my wife did have a point, so I said it would be fine as long as it didn't interfere with our family schedule. She found a job at the mall working part-time as a salesperson for a major department store. This had the added benefit of allowing her to get the employee discount. It had been a few months since she had started working, so one day, I was scheduled for an all-day meeting with one of our suppliers, but it was canceled at the last minute. Since my office is a short drive from the mall where my wife works, I decided to surprise her by taking a long lunch and pay her a visit. I knew she worked in the jewelry department, and off I went. Once there, I looked around hoping she would come over to assist me in finding something nice for my wife, but there was no sign of her. When the young woman behind the counter asked if I needed any help, I asked, "Is Stacy working today?" "Oh no, she is not scheduled to be in until tomorrow," she cheerfully replied. "As soon as possible. I need to start making hotel reservations and so on. When do you think you can ask her?" He pulled his cell phone from his pocket. "I'll call her now since she is still home and doesn't have to be at work until 8 a.m. He made the call as I listened to his side of the conversation, then hung up. She said she can fax over her schedule for the month later this morning. "How is that?" He smiled. "Perfect. Just perfect. Thanks, Sam. And thank your lovely wife for me too." It was about an hour later, I had my wife's work schedule and noticed she has only been working 10 to 12 hours a week. She had told me her hours were 18 to 25 per week. Why was she lying? I had a cold chill run through me as I thought of possible reasons. I didn't have time to ponder what was going on with my wife as I had meetings to attend. Throughout the day, I had a hard time focusing on my job. More than a few times, I caught myself staring off into space trying to get a handle on what my wife was up to. After the last meeting of the day, I went to my office and closed the door. I studied my wife's schedule and even created a spreadsheet, then downloaded it to my iPhone. What was she doing when she was not at work? I had to find out. So, I got online and started to look for a way to track my wife's movements. Soon I had a list of items that would do the job plus a few other things that might come in handy. I didn't want these items showing up on our credit card or bank statements, so on the way home I paid for and cashed a prepaid debit card. The following day, I ordered all the items I would need and had them shipped to the office. It would take a few days for them to arrive, so now I had to come up with a plan and what I would do if I found out the worst. So, sitting at my computer, I created a list of possible explanations as to why my wife was lying to me about her work schedule. At the top of the list was infidelity. If that was true, then our marriage was in serious trouble. But I still had a hard time believing she would cheat on me. Our marriage was good, Or at least I thought it was. The sex had dropped off over time, but we still made love 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, maybe it was a little boring or predictable, but was that any reason for her to cheat? But the following week, the items I had ordered arrived at work. Now all I had to do was put them in place. I had ordered a tracking device for her car that I could use either with my iPhone or iPad to see where she goes. I also received a few voice recorders that are voice activated and several spy cameras that would be placed in our bedroom and a good digital camera with a powerful zoom. Looking at all these items gave me a sick feeling that our marriage had come to this. I was now about to spy on my wife to see if she was cheating. God, I hoped I was wrong about this, but I just had so much doubt that I had to know one way or the other. The next morning, I was up a little earlier than normal and placed a voice recorder and the tracking device in my wife's car. After that was done, I went to work, and once there I reviewed her work schedule to see when she would be out of the house. I saw she wasn't on for today, but decided to call her and ask if she was working. I picked up my office phone and hit speed dial. Han, I just got into work, but forgot to ask you if you were working today. Oh, yes I am, but I'll be home before you. She lied. Again. Okay, just checking. Hope you have a good day at work. Love you. I had a hard time getting the last phrase out. With the tracking device in her car, I'd be able to see where she went. I could then head home and set up the spy cameras and the other voice recorders to see if she was bringing this asshole into our bed. The thought made me angrier than at any time that I could remember. She had to pay for her betrayal of me and our children. During the morning, I checked my iPad to see if she had left the house. It wasn't until around 10 a.m. that I saw she was on the move. Now I thought was a good time to place the rest of the items. I told my administrative assistant that I needed to go home for a few hours and that I'd be back after lunch. Soon I was placing the devices around our bedroom to get the best view but keep them from being detected. With everything in place and tested, I decided to see where Stacy was. I checked my iPod and saw she was at the mall. Maybe she did have to go into work today. I figured I'd stop by and surprise her again. I pulled into the mall parking lot and found her car parked way in the back away from the store she works in. I thought that was strange. I pulled out the new digital camera and took a few pictures. I found a parking space close to the store and went straight to the jewelry department. Once there, I saw the same young woman who waited on me the last time. Hello. I was wondering if Stacy is working today. I'm sorry, sir, but she quit last week. She said it was interfering with her family life. Is there anything I can do for you? She smiled. Oh, no. Thank you. I was angry beyond words. If Stacy had been anywhere near me at that moment, I would have slapped her. How could she lie to me so easily? Now the thought came to me that this has been going on for a while, but for how long and with whom? I was going to find out and make her and her lover pay. I decided not to go back to work. I picked a spot in the parking lot where I could watch her car but not be seen by her. The zoom on my camera allowed me to observe from a safe distance, and if necessary, record what would take place when she did finally come back to her car. It was almost 2 p.m. when a car pulled up next to hers. I watched her get out of the passenger side. I saw her lean down, say something and smiled. That simple act made my blood boil. I took several pictures of her, and the car she got out of, I did not see the driver's face. I did notice the car had dealer plates on it. There are only a handful of car dealers in the area, and it shouldn't be too hard to track that car down, I thought. By now she had driven off, presumably to go home. I sat there thinking of what I just witnessed. I decided to drive by a few of those dealerships to see if I could spot the car. Leaving the parking lot, I drove towards some of the car dealerships. Soon I saw the signs and flags promising big savings or new models. It wasn't a new car I was looking for, but the lover my wife was spending time with. I looked at several car lots, but I could not spot the car I saw earlier. I wasn't about to get out of my car because that might tip off the asshole screwing my wife. Then it came to me I still hadn't really seen anything that proved they were lovers. I needed to catch them in the act, but how? This problem would have to wait as I was preparing for a 3-day business trip to a customer the following week, and I needed to keep my head on straight. I arrived home at my usual time and all appeared normal. Reminding my wife of the trip, I decided to lie again. Sorry, Han, but they've decided to extend our stay for the whole week. I should be back by Saturday afternoon. I hope that won't be a problem for you. No, that should be fine, she smiled. I just knew she was planning on spending time with her lover. I hoped that I could catch them in the act and put an end to it once and for all. I went to bed and pretended to sleep while my mind tried to solve this problem. When I went to work the next morning, I pushed that problem to the back of my mind and focused on my work. The week went by quickly. I was due to fly out on Sunday afternoon. My son asked if he could drive me to the airport. I could tell something was on his mind as I drove. What's up, slugger? You seem awfully quiet. Is something bothering you? He cleared his throat. I'm Dad. I don't know how to tell you this, but I thought you needed to know. Mom is having. Well, she is having. He was having difficulty getting the word out, so I helped him. She is having an affair. Yes, I know. Is that what you wanted to tell me? He looked at me with a mix of surprise and sadness. Are you going to divorce her? I don't know yet. How did you find out she was seeing someone else? A few weeks ago, my baseball practice was canceled due to rain and I came home a few hours early. It was coming down pretty hard, so when I got home, they didn't hear me come in the house, but I heard them. I went up to your bedroom and saw the two of them fucking. I was so shocked I didn't know what to do, so I went to a friend's house and came back a few hours later. He was gone, and it looked like Mom had taken a shower. I saw the tears in his eyes as he told me. God, I wanted to kill her at that moment. Does Michelle know? He shook his head. No, I don't think so, and I'm sure as hell not going to tell her. You know her and her temper. Good, because I'm hoping I can save our marriage and our family. Just try and act normal around your mother and sister, and if you need to talk, just call me, okay? We got to the airport and I hugged my son. Be strong, okay? And look after Michelle. Call me if you feel the need to talk. With that, I found my coworkers. We checked in and soon boarded our flight. The trip was productive as we closed a huge deal with a new customer. It took us several days of meetings and negotiations to get the deal signed, but it worked out well for both parties. The last day, and we were out having a late lunch celebrating when I got a frantic call from Jason. That you need to come home now. There was panic in his voice. What's wrong? What happened? Now I was in a panic. It's Michelle. She found out about Mom's affair and, well, it wasn't pretty. You better get home. Is she hurt? What happened? He wouldn't tell me. Just get home soon. Please. I excused myself and said I had a family emergency and checked out of the hotel. Once at the airport, I got the next available flight home. It was only a 2-hour flight, but it felt like a lifetime. As soon as I was on the ground, Jason was there to meet me. Okay, what the hell happened? How did Michelle find out about your mom's affair? Jason looked at me, pretty much the same way I did, but she took matters into her own hands. Her softball practice had been canceled and she went home early. She found the two of them together in bed like I did. The only difference is she took a baseball bat to his sorry ass. I looked at Jason in shock, but he had a big-ass grin on his face. He won't be walking for a while, and I doubt very much he'll ever have sex again. She what? I said in disbelief. It seems, from what Michelle told me before the police took her into custody, that they were in the heat of passionate lovemaking when she walked in on them. She was as shocked as I was, but also mad as hell about it. So she went back to her room, grabbed her softball bat, and began beating the crap out of this guy. Once she was satisfied with the damage she'd inflicted, she dialed 911 and said she caught a criminal attacking her mother and that they should send the cops and paramedics. I had just gotten home by then, and I could hear the poor bastard crying in pain upstairs. Once the cops arrived, they questioned Mom, Michelle, and this guy Kevin. Michelle stuck to her story that since it wasn't her father screwing her mom, it had to be forced. So she took what she thought to be appropriate measures to stop him. Jason couldn't stop smiling. This isn't funny. Then I started to laugh. When we got home, I found Stacy sitting on the couch looking like shit. I went over to her and took her in my arms. It's okay, baby. It's okay. We'll get through this. I know this has been very traumatic, but I'm sure with some consoling you'll be fine. I was playing up the assault theme so she wouldn't suspect I knew the truth. She shuddered. Oh God. Then she began to cry. I turned to Jason. Where is Michelle now? She is still at the police station. I wasn't sure what to do. I got up, pulled out my phone, and called our family lawyer. I told him what happened. I asked if he could recommend a good lawyer for this situation. He said they had one in their firm and that he would meet me at the police station within the hour. Then I took Jason aside to talk with him so Stacy couldn't hear us. I don't want your mother to know that we know about her affair. As far as we're concerned, Michelle was going after a criminal. Okay. He smiled. Got it. You need to stay here and comfort her. I'm going to get Michelle and bring her home. I was at the police station taking with the desk officer and waiting for the lawyer. Soon he showed up, looking all lawyerly in his suit and tie. We proceeded to get Michelle released. From what I was told, Kevin wanted to press charges against Michelle for assault. I asked if my wife was pressing charges against Kevin for assault. I was told no. I knew I had her between a rock and a hard place. If she didn't press charges, then she would have to admit the affair and Michelle might go to jail. If she did press charges, Kevin most certainly would say they were having an affair and Michelle might very well go to jail anyway. I felt a mix of pride and sadness for Michelle. I was proud that she was trying to protect her mother from an alleged assault and sad that she had to find out this way about the affair. I knew right then and there our marriage was over. It took several hours, but Michelle was released to me with the promise to appear in court within the next few days. I hugged my daughter hard as she cried. I'm sorry, Daddy, but I had to stop him. She sobbed. It's okay, baby. You did the right thing, and I'm so proud of you. I was crying now. Can we go home now? You bet, sweetie. You bet. As soon as we were home, Jason gave Michelle a big hug when she came in the door. How are you doing? She sniffed. Better now that I'm home. I looked around the living room. Where is your mother? She went to lie down. That bitch. Michelle spat. When you divorced for sorry ass, can I live with you? Both Jason and I looked at Michelle. Honey, who said I was going to divorce your mother? Well, I just figured since she has been cheating on you for over a year you'd want to get a divorce. Both Jason and I looked at her. What? I heard the talking before I took batting practice on him. Oh, and I don't think you'll be having sex anytime soon, if ever again. She smiled. I just had to laugh. I need to talk with your mother first, so hold off on the divorce talk. Why don't you guys get to bed? It's been a busy day for all of us. I went upstairs and found Stacy lying face down on her bed, fast asleep. I grabbed some clothes and went to sleep in the spare bedroom. It was late, and I didn't see any point in waking her to hear her side of the story. Sleep didn't come easy, but it did come. The next morning, I woke up at about 10 a.m., but I felt like shit. I got up and headed down to get some coffee. I found Jason and Michelle sitting at the kitchen table talking. They saw me walking in, and they each got up and gave me a hug. Jason looked at me. You look terrible, Dad. Are you okay? I nodded. Yeah, just tired. Is your mother up? They both shook their heads and Michelle spoke. Not yet. What will happen now? Will I go to jail? I'd rather go to jail than have to live with her, she spat. Michelle, you don't mean that. Look, you too. Your mother loves you, regardless of what she has done to our marriage. I'll talk with her and see what we can work out. I'm not holding out much hope. I wasn't holding any hope. Suddenly Stacy appeared standing in the doorway. Please give me a chance. She cried. I don't want to lose you or my family. Can we talk? Can't we try and work things out? I looked at her, and the kids glared at her. Stacy and I needed to talk, but not in front of the kids. So I gave Jason a couple of 20s. Why don't you and Michelle go take in a movie, then go for some pizza afterwards? Okay. They both nodded. As they left they said, Love you, Dad. But they said nothing to Stacy, and she noticed. Once they were out the door, Stacy collapsed onto a chair. They hate me. My own children hate me. Well, what did you expect? You were fucking another guy and they found out. So where do we go from here? I understand Kevin wants to press charges against Michelle. If that happens, I'll be sure all of this unpleasantness comes out in the press. You better have a talk with your ex-boyfriend. Oh, and if he doesn't agree, you tell him you'll file assault charges against him. Do you understand? She nodded and started to cry again. What about us, Chris? What about our marriage? I'll be talking to a divorce lawyer next week. You can do the same. As far as our marriage is concerned, it ended years ago. I'll take full custody of the kids because Michelle will probably take a baseball bat to you while you sleep. Do you really want to live in fear of your own children? But they're my children. They love me. She sobbed. Not so much after what they found out about you and Kevin. Look, this is going to be messy no matter how we handle it. I know I'm going to regret saying this, but it would be in your best interest to get a lawyer and see what your options are at this point. I'll try and be fair, but you hurt me and the kids, and that I cannot forgive so easily. She started crying again. Chris, I don't want a divorce. I want my family back. Please help me. Why? You not only cheated on me, you cheated on our family. The kids don't want to have anything to do with you. You really screwed up, Stacy, and I'm not sure I want to stay married to you. Please tell me what I need to do to keep our family together. I'm so sorry. She was crying even harder. A good start would be for the two of us to see Kevin and get him to drop the charges against Michelle. Then we need to talk about why you did this and see if this marriage is even worth saving. I'm not promising you anything. If you are willing to be open and honest, we may have a chance. I was just saying what she wanted to hear so I could get the charges dropped against Michelle. There was no way in hell I was staying married to the cheating bitch. I can talk to Kevin alone. There is no reason for you to be there, she said quietly. Oh no, we are doing this together. This involves our daughter, and as for father, I am going with you. Do you understand? She nodded her bowed head as if defeated. Soon we were driving over to the hospital to talk with Kevin. I was expecting a pleasant conversation. As we walked into his room, I saw both his legs were suspended up in the air by ropes. His knees were bandaged and one arm was in a cast, probably from trying to deflect the blows from Michelle. I smiled inwardly and thought about buying her a car for her next birthday, even though she was 2 years from getting her driver's license. Kevin heard us walk in. He looked pretty out of it. His eyes were glazed over, no doubt due to the pain medication they gave him. I hoped it would wear off soon. Hey, if it isn't the loving couple, come on in and see what that bitch did to me. He said this calmly and as if he was drunk. Please, Kevin, we just want to talk. It doesn't have to get nasty, Stacy said with a tremor in her voice. She was nervous, but I wasn't sure why. Then it came out. I told you to get an abortion 14 years ago, but no, you just had to have another child, even if it wasn't his. Kevin spat. I turned to Stacy. What is he talking about? What did he mean that Michelle isn't mine? Oh, he's just talking nonsense because of the drugs. Don't pay any attention to what he is saying. She was visibly shaking now. Oh really? Well then, I guess a DNA test will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that she is my daughter. Maybe I should get one done for Jason as well, just to be sure he is mine too. What do you think, dear? I was angrier than I had ever been. Stacy ran from the room crying. I just stood there. Then I looked back to Kevin and looked him in the eye. Okay, asshole, this is what you're going to do. First, you drop the charges against Michelle. Second, you stay away from my family. As for Stacy, you can continue your affair as she won't be my wife for much longer. You got that? The two of you can fuck all you want now. He started to cry. That little bitch made sure I wouldn't be fucking again. Yeah, I'm buying her a car for her next birthday. I asked him, is she your daughter? He nodded, unable to speak. Then I asked, so you and my wife have been having this affair for the last 15 years now? Again, he nodded. It was such a blow to my ego that I was glad she wasn't in the room anymore because I would have killed her. I sat down and just stared into space wondering how could I have been so blind. Then it occurred to me about the problems she had years ago, the ones she never explained to me. I had a really bad thought. I looked at Kevin. That medical problem she had a few years ago, was that another pregnancy that she had terminated? He nodded. I told her that if she didn't get an abortion, I'd tell you that neither Michelle or the last one was yours. I just put my head in my hands and cried. That stupid bitch, I thought. After about 10 minutes I composed myself and walked out of Kevin's room. Stacy was sitting in the waiting room staring out the window. As soon as she saw me, she got up and walked with me out to her car. Once we were in the car, we sat quietly until Stacy spoke up. I know you must really hate me, but it's not what you think. It was just... I cut her off. If you say it was just sex, you'll end up in the next room to Kevin. When did you start this affair? When were you going to tell me about the abortion? When were you going to tell me, Michelle isn't my daughter? She started crying again, but this time I didn't care. Okay, this is how it's going to play out, and if you don't agree to all of it, there will be a shitstorm that will bury you alive. Are we clear? She nodded. First, our marriage is over, and you will move out of the house tonight. You are never, and I mean never, to set foot inside that house again. Second, I will get complete custody of the kids. You will get visitation rights, but only if the kids agree to it. If they don't want to see you again, then so be it. Third, if you ever say anything to Michelle about me not being your father, I will make your life a living hell. Your family, friends, and co-workers will know you had a child with Loverboy in there, and that you also had an abortion to try and keep it secret. Oh wait, you quit your job to spend more time with Kevin. She had her head in her hands as if trying to hide from the ugly truth. Stacy, I never want to see you again, and I don't want you near my children. Do you hear me? Are we clear on that? She looked over and sobbed. They're my children too. No, not anymore. You can visit them if they agree to it, but it's not likely. Now when we get home, you need to pack up your crap and get out. She was still crying. Where will I go? Call you parents, call a friend. See if you can stay at Kevin's place, get a tent, and camp in the fucking park. For all I care, you can go to hell. We drove back to my house. I pulled in the driveway. We sat there for several minutes not talking. Finally, I broke the silence. Why, Stacy? Was it not enough for you? The family we started, the nice home. Was it the sex? She just sat there. It meant nothing to me. He was great at sex, and then he began to blackmail me when Michelle was born. I do love you. Can we at least try and... I shouted, 15 years, Stacy. You cheated on me for 15 years and you want to work it out? Get your shit out of my house now. I got out of the car and stormed into the house. A few minutes later, she came in and began to pack. An hour later, she had her bags packed and several cardboard boxes filled with her stuff. She went out the front door and loaded her car. Then she came back in. I'll need to come back to get the rest of it. I'll be staying at my parents'. Can I call you and arrange a time pick it up? I nodded. You ruined a good thing, Stacy. I hope you know that. She just looked at me then left. About 2 hours later, the kids returned and looked around. Jason asked, "Where's Mom?" "She doesn't live here anymore. I told her that I'd get custody of you two and that she could have visitation if you agreed to see her. Sorry guys, but our marriage was beyond saving." Michelle came over and gave me a hug. "Thanks, Dad. We love you. Are you okay?" Jason asked. "No, but I will be with the help of you two." I held them closer to me. 8 years later. As time moved on, we, meaning Michelle, Jason, and I, were able to move past what Stacy had done to our family. The kids wanted nothing more to do with her and would only allow her an hour or two visit every other weekend if they didn't have any game or other activity scheduled, and they almost always seemed to have something scheduled for those weekends. I tried to smooth things over and get them to see her more, but as soon as Jason turned 18, he flat out told her she was no longer his mother and that she could go to hell. Michelle pretty much did the same thing, and this crushed Stacy. It was the first time in a long time I felt sorry for her. Kevin was released from the hospital and dropped all charges after I had another chat with him that if he perused having Michelle charged with assault, I would have Stacy file rape charges against him. He walks with a cane now, and it's rumored he can't get it up anymore, even with Viagra. The last I heard, he had seen a number of specialists that must have cost him a small fortune, but with no luck. To fucking bad. At Michelle's request, we had a DNA test done, and it turned out she is my daughter. When we found out, we held each other and cried. We were both so relieved. Now my question is, was the child that Stacy had terminated mine as well? That thought will be with me until the day I die. Stacy lived with her parents for a couple of years and found a full-time job. Then later she moved out of state and we lost touch. She does send the kids birthday and Christmas cards, but the kids always send them back unopened. Jason got a baseball scholarship and went to a major university, and Michelle went to college to become a nurse. Both are doing well in school and are dating. Jason has a steady girlfriend, but Michelle said she wants a guy just like me. I think she can do better than that. It took several years before I could date again, but I did meet a very nice woman, and we see each other on a regular basis. I'm in no hurry to get married again and probably won't. The hurt is still there, but life goes on, and I feel the pain a little less each day. Thank God for my kids. Please share your thoughts on the story and let us know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.